Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. So guys, I've been having a little bit of problems with my microphone. In the last video, I was hearing some interference. I hope it doesn't happen this time. We're going to check it out. However, if I've recorded this whole video and there's more interference, I do apologize. I will switch out mics for the next video. So as you guys know, there was an interview by Stanford Legal with Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple. And he talks about some interesting things, so on and so forth. I want to thank Bank XRP for posting all the content that he does. I'll link this video in the description, guys. But I wanted to talk about this here. This was from XRP_Canada, sent me this article. Replacing fiat is not the goal for XRP. And so it got me thinking about governments and currencies, and let's just read this and we'll talk a little bit about it. So in a recent interview, Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, touched on something quite interesting. He said that he doesn't think cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and XRP will be used for everyday payments. He says that fiat, more specifically the US dollar, works quite well in this function. Here's an excerpt of the conversation, and that was in the interview. Often I will call these broadly digital assets and not cryptocurrencies. This is less of legal distinction and more of a pragmatic discussion. I don't think we're going to be buying coffee at Starbucks with Bitcoin or XRP. We have to ask ourselves, what is the problem it solves? The fiat currency, the US dollar, works pretty fine in this case. His sentiments pretty much echo those of other crypto figureheads, including Jared Tate of Digibyte, who believes that the true value of Digibyte is not in payments, but in cybersecurity. So guys, these are big heads of companies, and they are discussing the fact that they actually do not think that cryptocurrencies will replace fiat anytime soon. So what will cryptocurrencies be used for? I mean, they are currencies, so we have to ask ourselves a few questions. Let's continue the article. Such views from crypto insiders can help give an investor a heads up on what cryptos to invest in, with great prospects of the future, right? So we want to know what cryptos to invest in. I mean, if they're not currencies, what use cases will these cryptocurrencies have? XRP, for instance, has a strong use case in cross-border payments, a market that is worth trillions of dollars, guys. So XRP, strong use case, cross-border payments. There is a use for this currency. We might not be using the currency for transactions in stores or retail transactions, buying a soccer ball or a blouse for the prom, but we will be using XRP in larger institutional cross-border transactions, also with remittance payments, right? This is a strong use case that can anchor its value in the markets going into the long bull run. All it will take is for a large number of financial institutions to adopt it, and its long-term value growth will be somewhat guaranteed. That's an interesting and bold statement. All it will take is for a large number of financial institutions to adopt it, and its long-term value growth. Its long-term value growth will be somewhat guaranteed. I didn't say it. This is what the article is saying, but it's a very, very interesting point, right? The banks, the financial institutions adopt XRP. Obviously, we're going to see more demand. The problem with cryptos that are intrinsically designed as fiat replacements. So the problem with cryptos that are intrinsically designed as fiat replacements is that they are up against complex challenges that may not be easy to overcome. First one is hodling mindset that is entrenched in cryptos. And guys, when we own a currency, when we hold US dollars or Canadian dollars or Australian dollars or euros, pounds, whatever we hold, we don't think that we're going to hold and save and never spend that currency. We need to spend it, right, in order for it to function properly in society. And that's the problem with buying and holding cryptocurrencies. Now, we treat these things like stocks. We treat them like assets that we buy, we hold, and we hope that they grow in value, and then at a later date we sell them. So we're not treating them as currencies, and this has been a big issue in this space, is that these are supposed to be treated as currencies, but we're holding them. We're treating them as securities or assets. So most people buy crypto with the expectation of a value increase, hence the need to hodl. Yes. This means that even coins that are meant to be spent don't get spent, hence dimming their long-term value prospects. People would rather buy coffee in fiat than do so in crypto. I think that's a typo, and miss out on gains later along. So the first challenge they face is that of politics. Fiat currency is strongly linked to politics. It's one of the tools that nations use for control. It won't be easy for governments to give up this power, and this could limit the adoption of digital coins as currencies. And guys, I agree with this sentiment. So long as governments exist, I don't think fiat is going away anytime soon. This naive idea when Bitcoin was created that was very anti-government and, we're going to have one currency that replaces all currencies in the world is a very idealistic view, but realistically, governments would never allow this to happen for these reasons. For instance, expecting cryptos to replace currencies like the dollar, euro, yen, won in the near term is a bit far-fetched. It could happen in the long run, but most cryptos that have no strong use case outside of payments would not hold their value for that long. Besides, other better alternatives will most likely have come up by that time. So guys, governments use currencies as power. All currencies are valued different in terms of a country's economy or a region's economy. So for example, right, we have the US dollar here. And you know, so I'm just going to show you some comparisons, right? The US dollar to British pounds. If you had one US dollar, it would buy you 0.7756 British pounds. Look at the Australian dollar. One US dollar would buy you 1.38792 Australian dollars. Canadian dollar, it would buy you 1.30722 Canadian dollars. And let's say for the euro, one American dollar will buy you 0.86122 euros. So these are comparisons with other strong currencies and the US dollar. But guys, when you look at other countries, right? And so these countries are going to be the example of why what I just talked about in that last article would not be the case, why some people would in fact use cryptocurrencies to purchase goods and services, or even just to buy cryptocurrency to hold in order not to lose value, because in some countries, governments do shady things which creates hyperinflation that totally devalues their currency. One example is in Venezuela, and as you can see guys, one US dollar will buy you 6,054,200 Venezuelan Bolivar Fuertes. I think that's how you pronounce it. So guys, the currency in Venezuela is totally hyperinflated. You know, when it costs you 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 VEFs to buy a loaf of bread, you know, and you're going to the store with a wheelbarrow of cash like this, that is kind of not very economical, not very efficient, right? So in some of these countries, they're looking at cryptocurrency to be able to retain value, right? So we have to ask ourselves, what are cryptocurrencies worth? And will some cryptocurrencies be used for purchasing goods and services? And so guys, you know, we got to ask ourselves, like, Bitcoin, is there really a use for Bitcoin? And how about Ethereum? You know, so many other coins have come into play since this, right? XRP, we know that XRP has a use case, and that is cross-border transactions. We know this, okay? How about Litecoin, you know? What's Litecoin good for in comparison to other cryptocurrencies? Monero, we know that Monero has the added benefit of privacy, and there are some privacy coins, right? And you got to think to yourself, is privacy necessary in transactions? And for some people, yes. In certain countries, some people's governments don't allow them to transact in certain ways. And so these people need to be empowered somehow. And how are they going to be able to purchase certain goods and services anonymously? Well, with privacy coins. Conversely, I hate to say it, but guys, crime. Crime is going to exist in this world until mankind dies out. Crime has always existed. It always will exist. So for the sake of that, think of all the money laundering that happens, drug cartels, mafia, they want privacy coins, and they will continue to use privacy coins. Remember the Silk Road? When everybody was using Bitcoin on the Silk Road to buy drugs and guns and whatever else? Well, what they really didn't know was Bitcoin wasn't that private, but that was the only coin available at that time. But going back to my point, guys, privacy coins will be a big one. And let's talk about Stellar. And so Stellar, money transactions, kind of the same thing as XRP, but we know XRP is leaps and bounds ahead of Stellar. So guys, which coins will have a bright future? This is an interesting question. And just going back to this article here, last paragraph, going by this logic, it is best to look into cryptos that have an edge in other markets other than payments. So XRP is one of them since, as mentioned earlier, it has a huge potential to disrupt the global cross-border payment market. It has cut a niche for itself in this market and is way ahead of the competition, i.e. way ahead of the competition. It is also gaining in adoption as a base currency on crypto exchanges in highly lucrative markets as well, one that will drive up its demand in the long run. And guys, as we know, the supply isn't increasing, but when there's a higher demand and the supply stays the same, price goes up. Anyways, guys, what do you guys think? Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.